Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Welcome to your daily session. Please do come on in. So, how are you today? How are you feeling? Is your mind cluttered and full? Is your body, your muscles kind of tense? Well, if that's the case, you are in the right place. Please take a seat over there. I just need to arrange a few papers, which won't take too long. Also, if you do feel a little uncomfortable or warm, feel free to take off one's attire, such as a coat or jacket, as it can get a little hot around here. So, what are we dealing with here? You know, when it comes to dealing with many cases, it can get very cluttered. And you know, when it's very cluttered, there is often misunderstanding within. But I think we might be okay this time. And speaking of time, since you are now here, I guess you are more important. Yes. No. Shh. You are more important, so this can wait another day. First of all, I need to take a look and see what's up to date at this moment in time within the case file, you see? So, there's a lot to take in here. A lot of words, a lot of language, thoughts, and feelings too. How about I take a look inside? Yes. What do you have to say? All kinds of questions. Yes. I see. Very interesting. Okay. Yeah. Put that to the side. Yeah. We have a lot to get through, don't we? So, do you want to explain yourself? Okay? Feel free to do so now. So that was interesting what you had to say, but less about you, more about me now. You know, from time to time, people have said, Andrew, are you a psychologist? Because of the way you speak, the key terminology used, and how you analyse and assess certain situations as well as people. Well, I can explain that right now, okay? So, when it comes to something like this, case file with all kinds of information and notes, I have made them before. I even did one whole case study on an individual at one point to try and understand them. They were very complex, you know, maybe because they're dark and gothic, you know. They are complex and sometimes broken. They can cause suffering upon others. They can drag other people down into the dark depths and can cause all kinds of problems. They may appear innocent and vulnerable at first. Been through a lot of bad encounters, and then next thing you know, they've snapped you up and now you are fucked. Yeah, it was a pity about that back in 2016 with that American Psycho I came across. Psychopathic goth. Damn. Anyway, less about that. You know, there has been other times where people have, you know, said, I have no clue what I'm talking about or what I'm doing. I am no psychologist. Really. You know, I spent 6 years analysing human behaviour, human patterns, you know, the language used by people, interpreting who they are, and why they do what they do, whether it be through primary, secondary forms of socialization, and even the brains, the neurons inside. Could it be dendrites, axonal sprouting? You know, what could it be? Could it be the myelin sheath? Could it be the rods of Nanvier? Could it be the dendrites? Could it be the neurons? Is there neural plasticity taking place? Is it hyperdopaminergia or hyperdopaminergia? I mean, what are we dealing with here? Are we going to do some kind of flooding? Are we going to do some kind of classical conditioning? I have no clue. We're going to do a case study. I guess we'll find out someday or another. See, so many things to take into mind when dealing with humans. And quite often it's through communication, language, spoken, verbal, or text-based is how we can understand situations. Without it, where do we stand? Nowhere. We would be screwed. So with something like this file, you know, I know exactly what I'm doing, okay? I know exactly who I am and what I am, because when I look at every word, every single letter on this sheet, it's 100% true. Literally, it is. All this information here, everything, it's 100% true. As if I don't know what I'm doing. Really? Hi, welcome to the video. So this is regarding the Kenny Veach case on a serious note, okay? And to do specifically with a language. Excuse the background sound. If you hear any, it's building work, as you're aware. Annoying, frustrating. They're trying to hold me back. It's not my problem. They can shove their equipment somewhere else, okay? So, you remember what I did previously when I covered that video of perspectives? Yes, there was a bit of a joke to it, but it was true. There are different perspectives to handle, and it's not all coming from me, my opinion. I'm covering a range of what other people would say, okay? So, like when it comes to language, there is a misunderstanding there as well. And why? Well, from time to time, whether it be talking about a finding, talking about people's behaviour, some seem to think, oh, look at the way he's talking, look at the way Andrew's talking, he's saying it with such confidence, he's saying it in like a guaranteed way, but it doesn't mean to say it's true. You know, you don't know that person, Andrew, you're not them, so how would you know? And why are you accusing that person of this? And why are you accusing that person of that? Well, let's just remember, there is a big difference between using comparison-like language and language of uncertainty, comparing that to language where you're for definite, where you're sure, where you're confident and, you know what you're talking about. So what am I getting at? An example being, if we're talking about accusations where you're falsely accusing people of stuff, slander. Remember Beepo? Beepo in the past, he was saying along the lines of, oh, Warlike Raf is corrupt. Warlike Raf is doing it for views, doing it for attention. Warlike Raf is making all these videos which aren't true. You see the language used. Warlike Raf is this, is that, has done that, is this. You know, it's for definite. That's exactly what they're saying. They're saying, I am that 100%. Yet when I've done videos looking at people, analysing, I said, it could be interpreted as this. It could be seen as that. You could imply and infer that the person's doing this because it might be because of that. And then it does suggest why that is possible. But then it does underline that other issue of why that's taking place. It is a possibility. You never know. Or, whilst we're at this, talking about that event, that could lead to the turning point of the next future event, and then that would infer and imply this. But another way of looking at it would be from that perspective, and then from that perspective, they could interpret it that way, and then that would suggest that the original person was potentially responsible, potentially unstable, potentially capable of doing this, which led to that. You never know, it is a possibility. It's just worth taking things into mind. Do you see the massive contrast between saying this person is crazy and saying that person, from the way they look, it could suggest, it could hint at the possibility they're unstable? You see the difference? It's that simple. And yet people seem to fail to grasp that. Not many, but a few. and probably more in the future as well, depending on the volumes and numbers of people that come along. This is what I'm talking about. You say, oh, it's slander, slander, slander. How can it be if it's not really coming from my actual mouth, my actual words, what I actually say, what I actually think? Because if I'm talking about multiple perspectives, I might use the perspective of where someone would see it in a bad way. I'd use a perspective where someone would see it in a more understanding way. I'd use a perspective of someone that has it in a bit of balance, bit of neutral, in between. And then I might follow through with my own opinion. Yet majority of the time when I have covered videos where I am analysing someone, where I am saying this and that, suggesting this and that, I'm not giving my definitive opinion all the time, am I? I'm just simply using loose perspectives, loose language, potential language, comparison language, not for definite, sometimes uncertain language, okay? And that leads on to the next part, uncertainty language. What is that really? It's where you're not quite sure what the situation is or what you've found. You're not for definite, you don't have, confirmation of what it really is. You don't know the outcome of something. You can't say, right, it's been solved. Whereas, in another case, you might say solved, completed, resolved, etc. And we can describe that kind of like and apply it with the keyhole, okay? The creature that was supposedly caught on camera at the time. Even back then, I said, it looks like an eye. It looks like a creature. It's starting to look more like something is alive. It's leaning more towards that idea that it's like an eye, it's like this, it's like that, like. I'm saying it's similar to it, but it's not that. That's how you can interpret it. It's similar, but it's not what it originally is. You get what I'm saying? Whereas if you said something like, wow, that's an eye, that is a creature, 100%. Well, obviously you're confident then, you know exactly what you're talking about, you know what you see and what you know. And if you don't know, you're not going to say that, you're going to say a little bit, I'm not too sure, it could be this, it could be that. You see, I mean, I'm sure most people will pick up on it, but come on, it is kind of obvious in a way. And as I said, the reason why the language is important is depending on what you're doing, what you're covering, or what you're looking at, if you do say it the wrong way, the tone of voice or the exact words used, yeah, it can be misinterpreted, but I think that bit doesn't really matter because this is misinterpreted as well, so it's like you can't win. But you can dig yourself into a hole. So look at Sean in a way. Sean, when he's spoken from time to time, when he has done his thing, whether it be trying to locate Kenny Veach, whether it be something to do with the covered cave, most of the words he says is, yeah, this is a covered cave, this is it, this is the M cave, or this is where I think Kenny Veach will be, this is where we're going to find him. You give me so much money, you give me time, day and stuff within this mile radius, we will find Kenny. It's like that sort of language, and you would have seen it yourself in some of his older videos. Okay, not all of them are around anymore, so you can't check, but they were there at some point. And then the other time where Sean said, we're dealing with a murder case with Kenny Veach and Robin set me up. That sort of language, that word, and it's like, okay, we're listening. He seems quite, fixed on what he's saying and what he knows and what he believes in, but okay, take his word. But, 1 minute it goes from a murder case of Kenny to Sean saying, oh, I saw Kenny Veach out somewhere, homeless, when I was out myself. And it's like, wait, you sounded quite certain and confident that, it's a murder case, and now you're saying, oh, you found him alive. You can't have both, it's either one or the other. So yeah, with something like that, it's, well, what do you believe? Because, they're going to suddenly change their mind again to something else, a different theory, a different idea, concept. So unless you're very, very uncertain and you use an uncertain language and you're switching and changing between different ideas, explanations and outcomes, then yes, it's more understandable there because you're not really going all into anything. That's what I say. And that's what I said previously. I might not go all in majority of the time, but there's a reason for it, because if I did, then it would be a complete mess, wouldn't it? You know, if I went all in on the keyhole, like there's a creature out there, I went all in on the sounds that Sean's being followed out, I went all in on multiple voices being captured on camera, and it's all one big dark thing, and you know, Kenny's out there and he's been captured or he's been taken out in the desert. And then after being that confident, I suddenly move on to the CCTV camera and say, oh, but now there's footage, so I'm all in on that idea now. I'm all in on the idea he's alive. You know, people wouldn't take it as serious, would they? Because, you know, you might have convinced people, or you might have just, you know, showed it to people, see it that way and hear the words you use, and then next minute you've done a complete U-turn, using the same confident language, really going in at it, and it's like, well, what's the point? Because it's just obvious. You don't really have to explain, to be honest. Whereas if you just explain all different kinds of avenues and points in a casual way, uncertain way, it's more understandable. You might not really get anywhere immediately, but you're just taking everything into account because it is a mystery, so it's valid to think of many different things and pick up on different stuff. So it is possible. So yeah, I think that's really it. Can't really summarise it any better than that, to be honest. As said, you've got language of uncertainty, and then you've got language of confidence. You've got suggesting stuff and then stating stuff. Okay, there's a difference. So when people say, oh, stop accusing someone of that, stop doing this, stop doing that. Well, I'm not saying it. I'm talking on behalf of what other people would say. I'm talking from like almost like a third person, third perspective way, okay? Not my actual thoughts, not my actual opinion. And as well, the stuff I do point out, pick up on, I'm not saying it is that, I'm saying it's like that, or it suggests the possibility of that, okay? I'm sure some people will misinterpret this video, or they'll only watch the first part of the video and think, what the fuck's this on about? How does this solve anything? Well, you'll know if you watch most of the video, so appreciate that if you do. So I think that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.